Do you feel like we've hit a bit of a quarantine brick wall this week? Initially we were told 3 weeks lockdown and we thought, yes, we can do this. And then they add another 3 weeks and now who knows when things will return to normal. How's lockdown for you in your house? Are you happy and content? Are you exhausted and frazzled? Are you bored? Are you worried and anxious? Maybe you felt all of these things over a bit of a roller coaster of a week. Or maybe you felt them all before you've even got out of bed this morning. In our house, we have 4 very different personalities and we can feel these things over different stages of the day. Our concerns can range from the very important to the absolutely ridiculous. From real worry about my parents and their susceptibility to this horrible virus, to Alice not having sat her A-levels and the uncertain future there is for her, and the many unknown outcomes there are as the weeks roll on. To the absolutely ridiculous cry of, why are hairdressers not key workers? We have Gilbert slowly morphing into Santa, and now we have my husband resembling Chris and looking like something off the set of Breaking Bad with his very close shave. Lockdown makes us feel things microscopically. Our feelings are magnified. The highs can feel higher, but the lows can definitely feel lower. And with these daily minor and not so minor challenges, we can feel a wee bit like an elastic band, just stretched and stretched. And this doesn't even touch the very real hardships that many of you suffer through illness and more serious circumstances. God doesn't want us to carry these things alone in our own strength. He wants us to come to Him in prayer. But He wants our honest prayer. And honest is probably our key word for today. A few weeks ago on Good Friday evening, we got to enjoy communion as a wee family of 4. And I was very grateful to the American author John Mark Comer for his reflections on a passage in Matthew, chapter 26, verses 37 to 39. He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went on a little farther and bowed his head to the ground, praying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." And in this short passage, Jesus lays out 3 things which can act as a template for us when we don't know how to pray. First of all, he lays out his honest feelings. The verses tell us that Jesus was anguished and distressed. He tells Peter, James and John that his soul is crushed. He doesn't make excuses for it. He doesn't say, "Oh, I know I shouldn't be feeling this way," or "I know I just need to keep going." He's honest about it. Do you not think that sometimes we brush our real feelings under the carpet? And how can they ever be dealt with if we're not honest about them? Secondly, he brings his requests to God. The Message translates Jesus' words here as, "My Father, if there's any way, get me out of this." The New Living Translation says, "Let this cup of suffering be taken away from me." And the cup is a figure of speech. It was a Jewish idiom for what you were carrying, your lot in life. And you'll be familiar with Psalm 23, where the cup was full and overflowing, and it was a time for praise. But here in the garden, the cup was a crushing and an overwhelming burden. What's in your cup? We all have our things to carry, the good, the difficult, and what you are carrying is every bit as important to God as what someone else is carrying. Never minimize your lot in life or write it off as insignificant. Jesus was honest and asked God to take the cup away. He didn't filter his request. He didn't apologize for it. Sometimes our prayers can be very polished and polite, but isn't it freeing to know that we can bring our desires to God, even if we feel guilty or confused about them, or maybe we feel a wee bit selfish in thinking that way. But we can just bring it. God, here's what's on my heart. No filter and no moralizing. And finally, he declares his trust in God's higher purposes. "I want your will to be done, not mine. God, I yield this to you. I bring it and I leave it." By placing our trust, we can live in the freedom of knowing that we don't control the universe. God does. And probably like me, over the last few weeks of the beautiful weather, you got to see some mighty fine sunsets. There's a verse in Isaiah 45 verse 6 that says, "So that from the rising of the sun to the place of its setting, people may know there is none beside me. I am the Lord, and there is no other." And when everything can seem unstable daily, isn't it amazing that we have the guarantee that every day the sun will rise and the sun will set, and God controls that, not us. And we can enter into what someone once called the restful cooperation of God's grace and His timing. Life can feel like a roller coaster of unknowns at the minute, but we can trust that He is in control of everything that touches our lives. Are you rooted in Him today? Come to Him in prayer. Be honest about your feelings. Bring your honest requests and questions to Him, and then recalibrate your trust in Him who holds all things together. Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7 say, "Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything that we can understand."